Hello, my beautiful muses, and welcome to this week's episode. I haven't sat down and recorded a podcast episode for you guys in over a month, and I have just really been taking back my energy, hence the title of the podcast, because I realized a lot in the last month, and I've gotten deeper within myself and just really started taking away the things that don't serve me any longer, and I've gone through this reawakening in some way. If you've listened to any of my recent podcast episodes, that I've been challenged a lot in just every area of life, and it just hasn't been any easier, and challenges have just kept coming. And I want to talk about how to get your energy back and when to realize that your energy is maybe not where it needs to be. It's not where it should be, which is on you and your growth and your happiness and your joy. And little things that I've noticed have happened with me and that I feel like happens to a lot of women, because we go into these roles of wanting to fix and control, and these parts of us that from our trauma are responses, and we don't realize that they're happening sometimes. We don't realize that they're there until it's almost overwhelming and exhausting. And I want to go in and just share my experience. I might not talk in depth about all the challenges that I'm going through, because some of them are pretty personal and some of them have to do with other people, and I'm not in that space right now where I want to share that. I might share that later though, for sure. I think there's growth that can come from that, just sharing those experiences. But I will say that for me growing up, I needed to feel like I had a lot of control. And so when you start thinking about your trauma, your childhood trauma, or when you were younger, how things felt and what you did in order to feel happy. What did you do in order to feel like you were in control? What did you do in order to feel loved? What did you do in order to feel validation? And then a lot of the times when we get challenges thrown at us in life, or things happening out of our control, or things that we don't necessarily love that are happening, we revert back to the same ways that we found safety. Even if it wasn't a stable safety, maybe it was just a false sense of safety, but we will go back to those times and those places. And emotionally, and when I say go back to those places, emotionally we'll go there again. And we'll try to keep ourselves safe. And it's helped and it's worked in the past. Maybe you did some things in the past that helped you feel loved or validated or safe. Or maybe your controller parts came out. And by controller, I mean the parts of you that are a little more anxious and trying to find solutions and find ways to control and just hold on to things that you think you have control over. And it's helped you in the past. And so when things happen that are out of your control, you try to grip onto those as much as you can. But what happens when we do that and we don't realize it, because life just happens, right? And it happens so subtly that we don't even realize that we are becoming a little different, or that we're losing our energy and we're losing our essence. And so maybe we'll start first by talking what is true alignment and what feels really good for us women when we feel aligned, when we have our full energy, when we feel like we're on top of the world, when we feel in love with ourselves, when we feel in love with life, when we feel in love with our partners, with our friends, with our careers, with everything. When we feel truly aligned, what does that feel like? And it doesn't feel like doubt. I'll tell you what it doesn't feel like. It doesn't feel like doubt. It doesn't feel like anxiety. It doesn't feel like overthinking. It doesn't feel like concern. There's this true knowing deep down inside of you that everything's working out for you in the best way possible. And there's synchronicities start to happen, right? Things start to really flow. The one thing that you really wanted, now somebody's giving you that opportunity, or they're connecting you to somebody that has the thing that you want, or it gets you a little closer. You start losing weight if that's a goal of yours. You look at yourself in the mirror and you start feeling a little bit better. You're like, wow, my skin looks great. My hair looks great. Things start to flow. You're in this ebb and flow. And I'm talking about exterior things, interior things, but you start to feel really good within yourself, and then your exterior reflects that. And so that's when you know you're in flow, right? And a lot of the times we get into really good flow when we're single, when we don't have anyone's energy around us. And it's why women become the best version of themselves after a breakup and all of these things, because we're not leaking our energy out to other people anymore. Or in a romantic relationship, you're not putting that much effort or energy into somebody else. You're putting it all on yourself. And so you're in this nice flow. And one of the things that I've practiced and I have really held on to, and just being in my relationship now, is that I've always wanted to stay in this flow as much as I can, because I know it all starts and ends with me. And so whenever I let my energy leak outwards, I know that it never feels good to me. I feel out of control on things. I feel like life is just not moving the way I want. I don't feel in flow. I start nitpicking on things. I start finding other things to try to fix and control. And so that's when I know I'm out of alignment. And we can all have tools. I have things. I show up for myself every morning. I work on myself. I do all these things, but there's always a moment. I've realized this for all of us women. There's always this moment in our lives when we're out of alignment for enough time that we get so exhausted and so sick of feeling that way that God throws the shift that you need at you. Like, it becomes very clear that, whoa, that's what I've been doing. My energy's been going here, or that's what I've been doing. And there's this big, like, I'm sick of my own shit moment. And I've had plenty of these. And I think that these have been my biggest shifters in life, to be honest with you. It happened when I got a divorce. I got sick of my own shit. I got sick of my own shit when I kept making excuses to not go to therapy and start working on myself 7 years ago. Like, I would make every excuse to not go to therapy or not look within or not have any self-awareness until I realized, like, I'm so sick of my shit. I am so sick of feeling unhappy. I'm so sick of having these toxic relationships. I'm so sick of everything not happening and working for me. And so that was a big shift, obviously, because I went from no awareness, no self-awareness to a big, tremendous amount of self-awareness and really just looking within. And so now I still find myself getting these little peaks of, I'm so sick of my shit moments. It's easier for me to realize them sometimes when they're not so personal, when they're not about me or something that's really close to me. But if it's really close to me and all my like little spidey senses come back and all my trauma responses from childhood start getting activated, I almost get blinders on. And if you're listening to this, you might be feeling the same way, or you have felt the same way. You get blinders on and all you can see is the thing that you don't want and how to control it. Or you're trying to figure out ways on how to control it and how to prevent certain things from happening and how you don't want to feel this way. You start focusing so much on what you don't want to happen that it becomes the only thing you think about. You think about how to control the thing, how to stop the thing, how to make the thing feel better. And it's all because you're trying to protect this. If you're listening to my podcast and not watching me on YouTube, I'm touching my heart. You're trying to protect your heart. We all have felt so much pain in the past, tremendous amount of pain, suffering, that anything from our present, even in a small amount, reflects anything from our past.
That stress that you're feeling, the overwhelm that you're feeling, the anxiety that you're feeling, it's all normal.
Our spidey senses will go up. Our protectors will come up. And if you're not aware or you're new to talking about what protectors are in somatic work, I'm not a somatic practitioner, but I have a great friend that is, and I'm actually working with a somatic practitioner now, hence why I've been in my own zone the last month and I haven't been on here. And your protector parts are really just, so I'm prefacing that with I'm not an expert, so this is my take on what your protector parts are. Your protector parts are pieces of you that were developed growing up in order to keep yourself safe, right? And to keep yourself happy and to keep yourself not in pain and all these different things. And so those protector parts get activated, especially when even a resemblance of the same pain or hurt can be coming about. And so those protector parts come up and they're not like these knight in shining armors that come and try to protect you in a peaceful, calm way. They usually come in as anxiety, overthinking, overwhelm. And again, like I said, just focusing on everything you do not want to happen. And sometimes it's hard for me, and I'll be completely vulnerable on here because who would I be if I wasn't completely vulnerable on here? I can take one or two things happening in my life and I can have a lot more calmness in the chaos and a lot more sense, like where I don't have blinders on. I can see things for what they are, have better perspective. I can shift the perspective. I don't stay stuck in anything. I don't try to control things. But where it really gets me is when every area of my life is being challenged, because it's almost like I just get stuck in this like down moment where I'm like, gosh, nothing is working out for me. Like nothing is working out for me, God. Why isn't anything working out for me the way I want it to? And so that's hard for me to get out of. That's harder for me to see the bigger perspective, the bigger picture, to shift the perspectives. And so two big things happen. I started working with my somatic practitioner, which she's amazing. And if you know anything about my journey, I have worked with every type of healing modality that there is. And so when I tell you that I wanted to work with her, I'm not saying that you need to work with her, that maybe you need to go in deeper. Honestly, she's amazing. I love everything about her. So DM me if you want her information. I actually will hope that she will be a part of my Muse Mastermind too, because she is great. It doesn't mean that you need to actually hire anyone to help you with these things. Maybe it's just a perspective shift that you need. But for me, I knew myself and I knew, gosh, I am being challenged and I know I'm like about to go into these big growth spurts and all these important parts of my life that I actually started working with her. And these big realizations have come up as I worked with her, because I'm very good as an ambitious like woman that has had to protect herself and didn't really have protecting parents growing up, and I had to be the mother to my mother, and I've always just been like the adult in my life even when I was a child. I'm really good at just not feeling things completely through, even though I think I am sometimes. And I talk about emotions all the time, and I'm so good at I do recognize my emotions and I have a great sense of awareness now compared to what I did 5 or 6, 7 years ago. But there's still times where I will will push through and I'll get things done and we'll get through this. And I don't sit still enough to feel everything that I'm feeling. And so much has come up for me working with her as my somatic practitioner, and just like the parts of me that weren't seen as a child, the parts of me that want and need something. And it's been such a beautiful space because I've been really able to bring my energy back. I've been able to give myself those things that I need instead of trying to control the exterior, right? My energy was going out here instead of coming in here. And so I was feeling drained for, like over a week. I was exhausted, like to the point where I didn't want to do much. I was barely, like my whole saying is don't take your foot off the gas, like either go slow or go fast, but never stop. And so I took my advice and never stopped, but I was still exhausted. I didn't show up here on the podcast, but I still created good content for you guys. I know what my purpose and my passion is, but I also felt like I had to give myself this time to just really look inside and ask myself, like, what is it that I need? What do I really need? Like with clarity, with calmness, with perspective, without the anxiety, without the overwhelm, without the feelings that are out of control for me. In that time, sitting enough with her, I realized that she's been great at giving me that space and allowing me that space once every 2 weeks, but we are able to give ourselves the space, right? We are able to give ourselves the space any time of the day, of the week. And even though, like I said, I've been good at understanding my emotions, working with all these different parts of yourself and understanding where they're coming from, sometimes we do need a little extra help. Sometimes we do need a little extra perspective. And I'm hoping that this episode gives you that it's okay, you're not alone. We all feel overwhelmed. As women, we all feel overwhelmed, especially at that time of the month. I get super overwhelmed right before my period. I feel like this huge amount of energy. I get a little more emotional on things. But I've realized too that even in my cycle, and this might be true for you as well, is that it only gets like that, and I only have worse months when I've maybe neglected feeling through everything from the prior month, from the few weeks before, whatever it is. And so it's so important for you to take a moment, and I'm going to give you just some tangibles so that you can leave this episode feeling, okay, these are like little things that you could start to do and they'll make a huge difference. And it's something that I'm working on, even developing a further, deeper understanding of myself, because I owe it to myself. I am the most important person in my life, just as you are the most important person in your life. And I want you to start treating yourself like that. That is the muse energy. That is the energy of being the woman that you've always been inspired by. Is you get to be inspired by yourself. But it takes a lot deeper understanding of yourself and a deeper sense of love for yourself. And so when we ignore these parts of ourselves, when we ignore what's really happening, when we just push through, when we just go, when we're not sitting still enough, you're telling yourself subconsciously that you're not important enough for these things. And so I want you to feel like a deeper feeling within your body when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling sad, or when you're feeling depressed. And I want you to recognize where it's coming from in your body. Is it coming from the pit of your stomach where you feel like there's this intuition or this anxious feeling in your stomach? Is it coming from your heart space? Is it tension around your shoulders? Is it back pain? Where is the tension coming from your body? Always let you know where that tension is coming from. And I want you to really focus on what have I been, like once you feel that tension in your body, wherever it is, ask yourself, well, what have I been feeling this week, today, these days? Where is this stress coming from? And what am I really stressed at? Sit into thinking and feeling with that part, right? If it's your lower back, feel your lower back, lay on the ground, ask yourself, where's the stress coming from? What does it need me to know? Ask it questions. This is how you get deeper within yourself. Like when you go to therapy, when you talk to a friend that's going through something, when you have a conversation with anyone, you ask questions to get deeper, right? There's no difference in how you do it with yourself. And so when you feel that tension in your body, ask yourself, what is this feeling? Where's this coming from? And then this is like the second most tangible, most important thing I'm going to say the whole episode is don't judge it. It's so hard, right? It's so hard because maybe anger comes up and you're like, then you start judging the anger. You're like, why am I angry? Or maybe you're sad and you're like, why am I still sad about this? Why is this bothering me still? This is so annoying. Don't judge it. Again, if a friend called you and said, gosh, I just keep crying about the same thing over and over again. It's just been so heavy. I'm really struggling with this. If your parent, your mom, your sister, anyone that you love called you with a big problem or a feeling of stress, you wouldn't say, why are you still stuck there? You would hold some space for them. So I want you to not judge the feelings that come up and arise for you. And then journal. Do things to release that judgment, to release that, and then ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? What would I need from even somebody else? If I was talking to somebody and I was telling a very close loved one about the situation or this thing that I'm struggling with, what would I really need from them right now? And give it to yourself. If it's a hug, touch yourself, hug yourself, cross your arms. Again, if you're not watching me on YouTube and you're just listening to my podcast, cross your arms and hug yourself. Maybe you just need a hug. Somatically, that's you telling yourself that like you're important. You're able to connect with yourself, right? Maybe it's breathing. Maybe you're like, oh, I've been going so fast. Have you ever felt this way? Because I know I have. In the last couple weeks, I was taking such shallow breaths that I was having to take like really deep breaths, and I was like, woo, I feel like my nervous system is really activated because I haven't been able to really just be, right, and breathe. So maybe it's just deep breaths. Maybe it's you need to go on a walk. Maybe you need to treat yourself to something. Like ask yourself what it is that you would need from somebody and give it to yourself. And as simple as those things are, or as simple as they sound, it's harder when you're practicing it. It's going to be a little challenging. It's going to be a little tougher to give yourself that space, first of all, right? That space, allow yourself that time, that space to just be and not do, to actually sit with the emotions that you're running from and then not judge it and then give yourself the things that you truly need. And again, sometimes we get so lost that we don't realize that our energy's been going everywhere else but where it really matters, right? Life happens, kids happen, whatever journey you're in life, like life just happens, and somehow we're like, wait a minute, where have I left myself in all of this? Why did I stop giving to myself? And so I hope that this episode helps you really bring your energy back and understand and see where it's maybe leaking, where it's maybe not coming to you the way it used to, or maybe you're not focusing your energy on you. And I want you to bring your power back to you because it is possible. Have patience with yourself, have calmness with yourself. I would love to see you inside the Muse Mastermind because this is all the topics that we're going to talk about. And like I said, I'm going to have guest experts like my somatic healer in there with me, and we're going to create amazing things together. We're going to have and hold space for each other to go through all these things because you're not alone. And I think that's something that I always needed to hear. And so I want to really tell you right now is that you're not alone. You're not alone in your feelings. You're not alone in your emotions. And even though maybe other people aren't open and honest about this, we all struggle with the same things, maybe at different levels, at different capacities, depending on how much work we've done for ourselves and with ourselves, but we all struggle with it. And every new level brings new devils. And so I want you to really take that space because you are important enough and you are special enough to give yourself and allow yourself that space to be. And so I appreciate you, Muses. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in, and I will talk to you guys soon.